Do you want me to call?
It's not formal yet.
Should I call GTV?
Is it?
We're
I
live.
have sound.
I don't know why the TV doesn't have sound. I could
Yeah,
check.
give them a call.
Give them a call. Without the sound, it doesn't look formal. I like that song. And because, you know,
I know, but we don't
it's
have
too much
any,
of the...
we can't hear the TV, so. Okay. Okay. He said we don't need the TV. We don't need to hear the TV.
We
They
don't get
can't?
sound. Okay.
It's on.
We don't need
Then
sound.
we're ready.
Okay, I'll be ready. Good afternoon and welcome to the regular scheduled meeting of the Art and Culture Commission of March 19, 2015. Roll call, please.
Commissioners Deaver,
Here.
Lee,
Here.
Oshagan,
Present.
Chairperson Derhovanesian.
Here.
For the record, Commissioner Sharikian is not present. The agenda for the March 19 meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall on March 16, 2015.
Next item, please.
Item 2, consent items. At 2A, approval of special meeting minutes from February 19, 2015.
Motion to approve the minute?
Yes,
Second.
thank you. Next item. Oh, roll call, please, sorry.
Commissioners Deaver,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Oshagan,
Yes.
Chairperson Derhovanesian.
Yes. Next item.
At B, approval of regular meeting minutes from February 19th, 2015.
I move approval of the meeting minutes from February 19th, 2015.
Any second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Hello? Hi. We're having a meeting right now. Commissioners Deaver,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Oshagan,
Yes.
Chairperson Derhovanesian.
Yes. Next item.
Item 3, introductions and presentations. At 3A, Glendale Arts Colony, presented by Mike Fortney.
Sorry. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Mike Fortney. I'm the Senior Housing Project Manager for the city. To give you an update on the Arts Colony, it's in construction now. We had a groundbreaking, I think it was in January. And it's slated to be open August, September of next year, so we've got a ways to go. But right now, the subterranean structures, the digging for the subterranean structure is just about complete. So that's where we are in terms of the construction. In terms of the tenant selection committee, that committee hasn't been formed completely yet. When I mentioned it to you before, there will be a person representing Meta Housing, which is a developer of the project. There'll be a person representing one of the service coordinators for the project. Engage is what the name of the group. And then we were going to have Annette Vartanian before she left the city as one of the members of the tenant selection committee. And then we needed an at-large artist on that. And so it'd be, in our mind, an artist that wouldn't income qualify for the project, but otherwise is an artist and knows his or her way around art. So one of the thoughts that I had was perhaps the commission would give us a recommendation for an artist that would be on that selection committee. And I have a meeting with the developer scheduled for next week to try to understand a little bit better what the responsibility and more so what the requirements and the time that it would take for this person, just so I can give that information to you, because it would be a big time commitment, I'm sure. But the thought was that at-large artist could be somebody that the commission recommends.
Any questions?
Mike, if you wouldn't mind if you wouldn't mind just going over the basis of the project we know, the commission knows, but for the public?
Sure. Okay, sure. So it's a 70-unit rental project. It's a 9% tax credit project, so it'll be for families and individuals earning between 30% and 60% of area median income. There's a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. The city has $6.1 million invested in it. The YMCA actually owns the land. The site of the project is 121 North Kenwood, so it's immediately adjacent to the YMCA campus and the SRO. So the YMCA owns the land. They're giving a long-term lease of 55 years to Meta Housing. Again, that's the developer of the project, to own and operate the building itself. That mostly covers it. So it'll be again families as well as individuals. A mix again of 1, 2s, and 3-bedroom units. It's hard to tell you exactly what the income range is and exactly what the rent range is because it depends on the family size. So, and the project will be affordable for 55 years. In addition to just the residential units themselves, there will be 155 parking spaces that the YMCA will use, and the remaining spaces will be for the product itself, and that'll all be subterranean and then a little bit above. So again, that'll be August, September that the project we expect it to complete. So we're going to have to form the tenant selection committee fairly soon. On most of our projects, what we do is 7-8 months prior to when we think the certificate of occupancy is going to be issued. That's when we start ramping up on the marketing, and then probably 6 months before we expect C of O. A lot of times we'll start accepting applications, and if it's for a population, just a general population, we will have we'll have thousands of people apply for, say, a 30, 40, 50 unit project. So then what we wind up doing is doing a lottery. And we just pick numbers. If we have like a 30 unit building, we'll pull like 300 numbers. In this case, though, it'll probably go a little bit differently. On the Veterans Village project, that's another specialized project where we're looking for veterans and their families. That project's nearly complete now. We did wind up doing a lottery. We had enough applications. So we don't know how many applications we're going to get for this, but I would guess that we're going to get sufficient number to run a lottery on this one as well. So, but because we have the tenant selection committee, which is above and beyond our normal process, we'll have to start that a little bit earlier. So,
Question. Will you be checking for income qualifications so that there'll then be a pool for the artist committee to review as opposed to the artist committee review being part of the initial selection? Does that make sense?
No, that's a great question. What we've done it differently on different projects. What we've done more often than not is we'll have a very simple application initially, and then the person or household claims their income, and then from there we can say you're income qualified or you're not, and then turn it over to like the tenant selection committee. That's probably how we'll do it, and then later on we'll have to get much more involved in their income and decide more absolutely whether or not they're income qualified.
So they won't be certified prior to entering. It'll be going off of what they say in their application, and then there'll be the pool, and the pool will probably continue to go through, and then go through the tenant selection process up until you fill all of the units.
That's how I envision it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we're going to have to start the process pretty early, but in order to income qualify them, really you're talking within 6 months of leasing the unit. So there'll be like a initial blush kind of look to make sure that they're close to that range. But we wouldn't want the tenant selection committee to, be looking at hundreds of applications when they're all over income. Yeah.
Yeah, so besides the income, what are the criteria for selecting tenants?
Yeah, so that's a great question as well. We put priorities on the tenant selection. The first priority has to be anybody that was dislocated from the project. There was 2 existing apartment buildings on site. We had to demolish those 2. So they have first priority. After that, though, artists that live and work in Glendale, followed by artists that either live or work in Glendale. So we wanted to make that distinction. So we were able to give that local emphasis. After we've exhausted all of those, any artist that's income qualified could move in or could be selected as a tenant. And then after that, any income qualifying person, artist or not, would be qualified. So that's the pecking order, if you will.
Okay, so there could be a lot of people who are not artists because of they were displaced from that area. Is that Is that
No,
correct?
there wasn't that many.
There wasn't that many? Okay.
No, there was a 22-unit building and a 4-unit building that were demolished. So those units would have first priority. I believe all those units were one-bedrooms also. I do know one or two of them had mentioned that they are artists and that they would like to be considered for this new project. But out of 26, I'm thinking I've only heard of one or two. And by the time August, September next year comes around, they may or may not be interested.
So to be an artist, you have to make some amount of your income doing your art. Is that the criterion for, or do you just say I'm an artist? And
No, I mean the tenant selection, the artist selection, if you will, they're not there just to rubber stamp. If somebody says I'm an artist, okay, you're an artist. No, it's got to go beyond that. You don't necessarily have to earn money to be an artist. We try to make it pretty encompassing. Our definition of artist is pretty general. Performing art versus we didn't specify one specific thing, but somebody has to if they're selling art, great, that's pretty easy. But somebody could be promoting art, not necessarily an artist themselves, and still qualify. So those are the sorts of things that we need to really hash out before the tenant selection committee is put together. But we've got a pretty good idea where that is, and I think in a month I could have a much better idea.
Now, I do have a question. I was not clear do we have anybody from the Library and Art and Culture Department also? I know that Annette Vartanian now is not anymore with the city. So whom do we have from our department coming to that meeting? Do we have that already?
No, I'm looking at Cindy.
Yeah, we're hoping that somebody from the Brand Library and Art Center, a staff person from Brand Library and Art Center, can get involved.
So we have a representation there.
We're looking into that, but I expect that we do.
Yes, that's what my expectation was. That's why the concern. The second question, you said that you're going to have the application for the income of the head of household. There are some head of household, assumingly that they might not make that much money, or they might be artists, but their wife or kids might be lawyers and doctors, and they might be doing very well. So kind of, isn't it more like when you want to, any owner of any property, when you rent it out, you check the qualification of everybody, any adult who is. So I hope that is going to be amended in whatever you guys are deciding.
Yeah, if I said head of household, that was a misstatement. I didn't mean that. Anybody, anyone over the age of 18 in that household, yeah,
Okay.
all of their income qualifies.
Because we want to make it fair, because there are so many artists in the community, and usually artists need support and help. And this is a fabulous project that is going to provide. It's a great, great idea, great vision, and it is being actualized. Just I want to make sure that it's not going to be kind of bashed, or it's going to be properly used to serve our community. Oh, the other question about the galleries, because there's going to be an art gallery for the exhibition of art.
Right.
Is there any special criteria for how we are going to use and lend it to the artists?
That is something we have not worked out at all yet. So that's something else besides. I think the more immediate thing is getting the tenant selection committee put together, but I think immediately following that we have to figure out the programming for the art gallery. So we've talked about the residents of the building being able to display in there, but we've also talked about groups, artist groups that aren't necessarily associated with the project, also being able to display there. But that's something that needs to be worked out.
So I hope you guys would work with the commission as well and the department, because we would be a good source to recommend. The same way as we are advising council, we would advise you on that issue.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I'm going to need a lot of help. and you're exactly the group that I would look to.
Cindy would procedurize that, but it needs to happen because it's a long time we have promised. This commission has promised artists in the community that we are going to, because before we were thinking of civic auditoriums downstairs, but that is a lot of other issues involved, so that was denied. So we really do look forward to that special, and we have promised that that's going to happen. So just we wanted to see how it's going to be procedurized to make it fair for everyone.
Yeah, no, I'll work with Cindy, I guess, to figure out how that'll work. When we had Annette, she was very, very helpful in getting me to understand how it might work. But in her absence, I'm going to need a lot more help.
Commissioner Lee?
Can you refresh me on how many square feet is planned for the exhibition space?
I believe it's a little over 3,000 square feet.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
So going back to your initial question, which was how we can help with the identifying an artist at large, you mentioned that they'll be putting together some requirements or what it's going to entail in terms of timeline and maybe expertise or that type of thing that we can use for whatever process that we might undertake to do some outreach or make some recommendations. When do you think you'll have that information?
If the meeting goes like I hope it does, and as productive as I hope it is, then probably in 2 weeks I could get you that information. I would say on the outside 30 days, but I'd like to do it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, because, I do believe that Commissioner Deaver also has expertise in that direction with her personal job that she has. So we could be of great service to you. And also, again, when the time comes, please refer to Cindy, and then we will see the best way we can be part of this wonderful project. Do you have
one more question? Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
First of all, I want to also congratulate you, echo what Arlette said. This is a great thing that's being done in the city, by the city, and by you leading it, makes Glendale an arts-friendly place. And I think we need to really support that and promote that. I wanted to ask, I don't know exactly, are there, besides the gallery, are there going to be workshop areas where there are things that can be, besides the tenants, you can have the community involved with taking classes and things of that sort?
That I don't know that we've thought about that so much. As far as the residents, yeah, we do have some of the units that are more loft style than they are apartment style, and we've thought about them being able to create in their space, but also make that work visible, even the creation of that work being visible. But aside from that, I don't think anybody's really envisioned people outside the community, outside this 7-unit building, coming on site and creating art. But that's something I can go back and look at and see if there's a possibility. So it's not something that I'd thought of.
Like becoming an art center as well as a gallery and an art space. Yeah. Very much like the brewery on a much larger scale, where there's always things going on, workshops and things, and so it's become a place, that art hive kind of thing, rather than just some people living there and making art.
Yeah, that's something I'm going to bring up. I'll bring it up both to the developer as well as the property owner of the YMCA, because we really envision when the project gets done, we want it to be a part of the YMCA campus. So we already envision programming between this project as well as the YMCA campus as a whole. But then that's an all new level of bringing in others to work to create on site. So that's something I'll bring up to the YMCA.
One additional question. Already an artist approached me and was asking, now, residents who you give them the apartment for a rent, can they produce art within their own apartments, and can they sell their art within their apartments? I do believe legally selling is a completely different story, but even producing, it depends what kind of an artwork they do. Some for the safety reasons, some for the sound reasons. If you are working on a sculpture, I don't know. So do you have all of those things in mind as well?
Yeah, there's some things that the artist can create in their own unit, and there's some things that they won't be able to create. So we'll look at that further, and I'd probably just come back with a more formal report in a month or whenever you want, kind of to talk about that a little bit more.
I think it would be great if step by step, whenever you come across something after discussing with the departments and everything is taken care of, to make an arrangement to come and see us and to report to the community, so everybody would be on the same page with you, because there are lots of people who are looking forward to this special project.
Yeah,
so any updates at the given time would be great. We would appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm happy to do that.
Thank you.
And I say I all too often. I as the representative of the housing authority for building this project, not I, Mike
It's a
Fortney.
plural I.
Right. Yes, absolutely it is.
Thank you very much. If there's another question, thanks. Thanks for coming and sharing all that valuable information. Thank you. Next.
Item 3B, Library Arts and Culture Events presented by Chuck Wyke, Community Relations Manager.
Good afternoon, Chair Dare Hovhanessian, Commissioners and City staff and guests. I have a number of really great events to talk about this month, upcoming into April. You may know about the Life 100 show up at Brand Library. Some of you, I think, were there March 15th to May 1st. So it'll run the next 2 months. It's a landmark exhibition with programs to commemorate the 100-year anniversary of the Armenian genocide. So there are also a number of, well, there's an exhibition of art, but there's also a number of selected programs for the next 2 months curated by the Life 100 organizing committee in coordination with the City of Glendale Library Arts and Culture Department and the United Armenian Council for the commemoration of the Armenian Genocide, LA. So I'll tell you a little bit about the upcoming programs. Well, first, there's a quick shot you can see on the big screen of the opening reception that took place on the 15th of March. Very well attended. And we have upcoming with coordination with USC, their Dornsteif Institute of Armenian Studies. They're going to have a number of documentary and short films at the Brand Library on March 22nd from 2 to 7. The Fresno State New Music Ensemble will visit us on Saturday, March 28th, and they will be playing a number of living Armenian composers. And this is coordinated by Joy Bogigian and sponsored by the Brand Associates and the Armenian General Benevolent Association. Music by Tigran Mansourian, just a number of great artists. It's a real fun group, good youthful players. There's a panel discussion on Saturday, April 4th from 3 to 5 up at Brand Library. And there's also a signing of the official catalog. On April 11th, there's Voices of Survivors, an afternoon of reflection on the past century of genocide crimes with personal narratives, live music, art. This is going to be hosted by Tigrana Zakharanian, a Carl Wilkins Fellow, with a number of speakers from the Armenian, Jewish, Cambodian, Bosnian, and Rwandan communities. Michael Avatisian is going to present classics by Komitas on Saturday, April 19th at 2 p.m. Komitas is often considered the founder of the Armenian National School of Music. And they will finish their programming on April 30th. They will start out with a real art film series, Sergei Parajanov's The Color of Pomegranates, and that's sponsored by the Brand Associates. That's part of their film series. And then they'll have the Life 100 closing reception. It's really a massive undertaking. We're very proud to host this event.
I'd like to add that our very own Commissioner R. Oshagan is one of the exhibitors at the Life 100 exhibit. So, if nothing else, go and see R's work.
Thank you. Next, this is the inside of a Beeline bus up on the screen. It's a great-looking piece of art that depicts Brand Library, and it's part of the LA Metro's Through the Eyes of an Artist series, and this is done by Edith Waddell. Edith took figures and images from Brand Library, created this great art, and this is on all the Metro buses now. So if you're out there on the buses, you can see that, or you can come up on Saturday, March 28th to the Brand Library, and she will sign her poster for you. I think there's a picture. There are a lot of interesting images there, but there's one of a woman there. I think everybody needs to ask who that is because we can't figure it out. So that's something we want to know.
And these are also being displayed on the Glendale's Beeline.
We have our One Book, One Glendale citywide reading event with Garth Stein, who is going to be at the library on Tuesday, March 31st. On the floor of the Central Library, he's going to talk about The Art of Racing in the Rain. It's a novel told from the point of view of a dog. Very interesting book. He's a good writer. He's very popular. and he takes a really good whimsical picture with his dog. There he is. And just in case you were interested, we've had a number of dogs visit the library grounds, Central Library, including one of the biggest and one of the smallest little puppies. It's an Irish Wolfhound. They were there with the Hollywood Dog Obedience Club. The dog on the left, the puppy, is in training to be a guide dog. The dog on the right, that was his first outing as a registered therapy dog. So that dog, very friendly dog, will go out to hospitals, community organizations, maybe even kids can read to the big guy. Again, The Art of Racing in the Rain, Garth Stein, Tuesday, March 31st. We have some interesting Spanish language programming coming up. The Literary Road Traveled by Women, a tribute to outstanding women of the Americas. That's a panel discussion on women writers from the Americas, North and South, on Saturday, March 21 at the Central Library Auditorium. That will be in Spanish. And another program in Spanish, we have Three Wise Latinas. They're going to do a program on self-esteem, and that'll be at our Central Library on Saturday, April 11th. We have Palmira Perez, who is a Mundo Fox on-air personality, Sandra Boissier, and Cynthia Ruiz. In April, mid-April, probably before the next meeting, well, same day as the next meeting, Matthew Karanian's going to return. He's an attorney, I believe, in Pasadena, but he also is a good photographer, and he does travel books now. So he's got a book, he's calling it Historic Armenia After 100 Years. So he's looking at old sites and sort of comparing what it was 100 years ago with what it looks like today. He's a good writer. Thursday, April 16th, 7 p.m. at the Central Library. That's my library report.
Thank you very much. Next item.
Item 4, oral communications. Discussion is limited to items not on this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. The Commission may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The Commission may refer the matter to City staff for investigation and report.
Thank you. I do have one card. It is Sevada Hemelian from Homenetmen Ararat chapter. Would you like to come to the podium, please?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm delighted to be here in front of your Commission today and proud to present the Red Poppy Visual Interactive Forum over at Homenetmen Ararat campus on April 9, 10, and 11. This is going to be the second year that this Red Poppy event is happening. Last year we launched and we had tremendous success trying to create a different experience for people who are looking to learn about the Armenian genocide. And with this year being the centennial of the event, we're expanding the program and bringing in all sorts of different interactive exhibits and experiences and movies and visual and arts and all different types of content that kind of describes and conveys information about the genocide. And what we'd like to do is invite you all to the night of the 10th. We're going to be having a let me preface that by saying every night the event from 7 to 9 p.m. has a hosted panel, and there are different individuals that are going to be speaking about different topics related to the genocide. And some of them are local scholars, others are local community members, and part of the experience is that we create a debate and a dialogue about the genocide and the ways that it's infiltrated the community at large and how to perceive that conversation moving forward. So on the 10th, we will have our formal presentation that night, and we'd like to invite you all to attend and be a part of the dialogue and the experience. I would like to mention that this is an event that has a lot of time and effort built into it from both a volunteer perspective. This is one of those exhibits where all of this is being donated in kind, and all the participation is being done with with an interest in educating. And we'd be delighted to have you all attend. And I'm delighted to present the event to you all this year.
Just could I ask a question?
Sure.
Why the title Red Poppy?
Okay. See, the red poppy. There's some significance to the red poppy. It and correct me if I'm wrong, if you know better than that. But the part of why we chose the red poppy is that because it has a symbolic resonance throughout Armenian culture. The red poppy has been noted in famous writings. Hovhannes Shiraz, he's used the red poppy as an allegory of the genocide, and the red poppy is an indigenous flower to Armenia, and it represents the sort of the symbolism of the martyrdom that happened to the Armenian people as a result of the Turkish genocide, the Armenian genocide. So the symbolism of the red poppy has translated this year to the 100th centennial, translating that into a bit of a purple poppy. So it's one of those things where we started with the red poppy, and this year there's a lot more poppies kind of throughout the community. It's popping up poppies. But thank you for asking that, and we're delighted that it's sort of the branding of the event. And it kind of has this symbolism that goes beyond just a flower. And people that attend in the past have received actual commemorative poppy-type things from actually made in Armenia, hand-sewn red poppy pins that were presented to people and speakers who attended last year's event. So hopefully we'll have some this year as well.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the update. Oh, there's
Well, it's a comment.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think it was last year that it was done, a similar thing, but on a smaller scale at the Civic Auditorium, and it was very well attended, right? It was last year with Edik Balayan, who's running this thing with the big map. It was really a very impressive exhibit last year, and this year I think it proves to be even more, many more layers added, many more interesting dimensions added, not only genocide, but also a much wider cultural sort of social context to it.
Exactly. Yes. Thanks for identifying that. The event will be at the Ararat Center, which is in 3347 San Fernando Road, right there on the border of Glendale and Los Angeles. And the event's longevity is to kind of see it spread outside of to that campus over there, and bring on more parts of the community at large. But definitely last year it was the first year that it kind of got out there and got its feet wet, and this year it's kind of expanding and doing a lot more within the community.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item 5, business agenda. At 5A, informational item. At 1, update on gala art in vacant storefronts.
Thank you, Chairperson and Commissioners, staff, and guests. May I give you postcards from our most recent set of gala? Thank you for the afternoon for some time. I just want to update you on Gala, which is Glendale Area Loves Art. It is a continuation of the GATE program, which was Glendale Area Temporary Exhibits, and it is an extension of art in storefronts that are otherwise empty. The exhibitions continue. They show up in storefronts. This particular series that you have the cards for now are 3 exhibitions. One is of the Glendale Art Association that's located on the 138 South Maryland site. The other one is a 2-person show. It is Erica Lizzie and Michael Moss. Oh, by the way, the Glendale Art Association are all Glendale artists, so we're also able to work with Glendale artists. Erica Lizzie and Michael Moss. Michael Moss has a studio and a home in Glendale. He lives between San Diego and Glendale. And then the final show is a 2-person show. It's Serbushi Arjanian and a team who works together, Dory Atlantis and Karen Frimkris Wolf. And Serbushi is also a Glendale artist. So the first set of shows that we did for Glendale were actually artists that I called and asked to come in because at the time, Annette Vartanian, who was working as the liaison, had asked for it to start quicker rather than slower. So I made a proposal to it which is acceptable to bring people in. This has gone through our RFP, which is when artists send in requests for proposals and their ideas, and then I group them together. So some of the images, which are a little bit difficult to see, are from the earlier set of shows. This is Sharon Suhovi, who did a large piece called arcs scoop through the world. They're large-scale fans that draw on her own heritage in Eastern Europe and primarily out of the Moldavian and Russian regions. It also seemed to me particularly appropriate for the area that we're in with so many people from Armenia in Glendale. The second was a show called Charms, a 3-person show, 3 artists who worked primarily with objects that ranged from kind of almost folk-related works, dolls and things like that, and they called them all Charms, and those artists also did a group show. Oftentimes what I do is I invite the artists in to work together to put the shows together. It depends on how much they want to be integrated or how little. But what it does is it functions as creating a cityscape that's a lot more interesting to walk by, particularly at night. At night, in fact, the postcards almost always are a night shot, and the reason is to give you an idea of what it's like to drive by and not see an empty storefront. If you keep going, these are some other interior shots of Charms. Some of you were able to make it, which was wonderful. Thank you. And what I've been doing is trying to open at the same time that Kathy Billings is opening at the brand. Between Cindy, Chuck, and Yvonne, I've been able to keep into contact, and also Art from the Ashes with Joy. So we're trying to create a critical mass so that people come to Glendale for more than one art event. The last opening we had, which was the same day as Life 100, we had a large turnout of people who I know were here for the many events that were happening in Glendale and that are now being publicized through Art from the Ashes, You Are Here, Gala, and the brand. So that is something that we're working on very specifically and coextensively. We send out things via email, via mail, the artist's individual sites. There is a website. This is another image of a night shot of Erica Lizzie and Michael Mass's work. There's an inside shot as well. What the goal is to present as diversified a palette, both aesthetically and in every way the diversity can be represented, of what the LA landscape is like. So I'm very attentive to bringing in as much of a mix as possible while respecting, to a certain degree, the order that these things arrive, the way the proposals show up. The next group, which will be coming after these, I'm going to give you a preview, but if you want to go forward, these are all the older shows. This is the most recent one that's on it's actually the image that you see on the postcard. After the shows are up, and I have a photographer come and professionally cover it at the night so I can get a postcard generated, then they go in and actually do detail shots, which the artists are given access to. After all their hard work, the very least they can have is a chance to have a document. Just so you know, anecdotally, all of the artists are extremely happy about being able to do the art in these storefronts, and they're also very interested in being able to do them in the Glendale area. As I said, many of them are from Glendale, and they feel like it's something that they are now in that way to ably and proactively be a part of promoting visual arts in particular. Chuck, if you can go forward, these are also detail shots. I don't have a long time where I could talk a lot about the arts, but I suspect I'm supposed to keep it somewhat brief. This is the new site with the Glendale Art Association. And if you keep going for 1 second, not to breeze through it too quickly. And you see people stopping all the time. It's one of those things that's really nice. Okay, this is, for example, what will be coming. This is an artist named Karen Wrightsoul who's made a proposal to work with primarily fabrics, but also reutilize materials. The next artist is named Sedzana Petrovic. He also works with recycled objects and things that are turned into weaving. That's a form of art that I'm very interested in, fiber arts. The next artist is Jessica Newman-Skretny, who works a lot with recycled objects. So those 3 artists kind of work on recycled things, turning them into textures or plants. Jessica's actually going to modify hers to make it into more of a woven-like proposal. If you go forward, Chuck. This is a painting by an artist named Fabia Pajanian. And the next painting is by a woman named Karen Duckle. She's also a Glendale-based artist, based on dance, and the other one's based on light movement. The final proposal is from Sandra Lowe, who's an artist who works with pop imagery, things that are from everyday life that might be surprising or incongruous. And this is a Holly Baruch. So that is just to give you a preview. This is not necessarily what they're going to put in. What I ask the artists for is representative samples, but what I invite them to do is to come to the previous opening, therefore getting them in. This is an example of one of the things that we got in the press. We're seeking more press now. One of the difficulties about running a project that goes into storefronts is when the storefronts come up and when they are not available. So the press I've been working very much with these media outreach to try to get them to sort of train to our schedule, because things come up very quickly and then they leave also very quickly. This is the website, just to give you an idea of what the front splash page looks like. There's also a Twitter page, there's also Pinterest, and then these are nothing more than what you actually have reproduced in black and white, so not as interesting in the printout that you have for the meeting today. I think I covered most everything. I think it's really important to know that we're working together, Joy, Kathy, and myself, to make sure that critical mass is accomplished. I think that's really important, particularly for getting Glendale to be known as a place in which the visual arts occur. And hopefully the pluralism that I'm bringing in represents, as I said, the diversity, not only of Glendale, but also of the greater Los Angeles area. And the press is interested. They have difficulty, but when we give them a larger critical mass, they can become more interested. So if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
No question. Thank you for your presentation, and I think the work you're doing in storefronts is really good. It's really great. It really brings a lot of diversity, like you said, into Glendale. So you said something about you accept the proposals and the time in some kind of order in which they receive. What does that mean? Could you explain
What I did is on the RFP, the request for proposals, I put out a series of criteria. Obviously, they include things like the preeminence of people who are from Glendale can precede someone who's coming from, I got a proposal, for example, from San Diego. So they're lower in that criteria, which is firmly stated. But what I've tried to do is people who get the RFP to us, and it was sent out through the city site, it was sent out through the LA Culture Net, through the Pasadena Culture Net. As they come in, I don't really have any way to be fair to them except try to go in order. So let's say a person sends something at the beginning of the RFP, unless they opt out because they can't do it. There's an artist, for example, Gilda Davidian, who was going to be a part of it, and then she got another show at Eagle Rock. So instead of being part of Gala, she opted to do the show at Eagle Rock. So that moves her sort of down in the pegs. But I couldn't think of, except for making the criteria, artists who are visual artists whose base is either work or work and living in Glendale. I couldn't think of another basis that would be fair except to take them in chronological order. And also as they work together. Some of the artists, for example, said, I need a space all on my own. Well, I explained to them this is really not a gallery showing. It's more about enlivening and bringing more people in. So, for example, in that case, I enter into a fairly complex conversation with them, which I say, yes, a one-person show would be wonderful. However, these storefronts are really meant to showcase a broader berth of pieces. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And could I add something? Yeah. So one of the things that you could possibly do is do some kind of interactive thing with that. You could give in the storefront, because it is a storefront, run on the street, have a couple of hours where some artists could actually do something with the community that comes in, right? So the opening could be partially interactive for people, especially with the kind of work. If they work with fabric, for instance, there are things you can do with fabric, which is very interesting, or with recycled material, things like this, which would become much more interactive. I think that may be something.
Absolutely.
Consider.
And Chairperson Derhoesian also said that maybe we should close the street and turn it into an art day. I think that would be a great example. For example, in Charms, the artists of Charms opened the gallery and had more than one reception. What I'm able to do with the status that I have with the city is take them on as subcontractors. So besides the reception of the public that this exhibition had, they also had days in which they brought people in to do small talks. And that is something that I'm able, willing, and desirous of working with the artists on as well. Running workshops, it's possible, but there are logistical difficulties to overcome, such as what is available on site that we can use. And then for me also, the issue comes up, Commissioner, how is that covered in terms of liability? The artists are all under contract with me, so they're covered by my business insurance. Let's say we bring in some children and they're doing some cutting with some material. It'd be curious to find out how that could be covered in such a way the city's not at risk for someone accidentally snipping the tip of their finger.
Michael isn't here today, so we don't know the answer to that. Our lawyer, yeah.
But I would agree with you, and that's why, for example, working with Joy, who's doing larger events where people are coming in for music and picnics, that's why we'd like to build critical mass. Absolutely. I agree with you entirely, and that's something that I'd like to both envision and also overcome in terms of the logistical problem.
Thank you. Ms. Cleary? Oh, sorry.
You had mentioned that some of the individual artists had some other talks, or they had opened it up outside of. Do you have, if that happens, will that go out on the same sort of Twitter feed and everything, or are they doing that independently through their own?
No, it goes out as often as I know it, Commissioner. It goes out to the entire feed, and I give it also to Chuck and to Yvonne. Sometimes it's kind of a fly by the seat of their pants, and the truth is what I've done in order to facilitate their activities is I bring them on as someone who's getting $1 a year to work as an artist for me. So that means they're covered with my business insurance and liability, but technically it also means that they can come and go from the space because they're covered by me. What happens with artists, particularly artists who were, have a living existence, is they're constantly trying to figure out where to fit things. So first the storefronts come up very quickly sometimes, and then they leave very quickly. Well, then the artists all of a sudden decide, next week, let's do this. It's not a lot of lead time, but I get it out as soon as I possibly can, and I encourage them to do so as well.
My question was somewhat selfish because I wasn't able to make the opening, so I would love to be able to get into the space and experience that with the artists if there's another opportunity.
If the commissioners ever wish to get into the space with or without the artist, I would be more than happy to facilitate that.
Yeah, I missed the opening also.
Pardon me?
Unfortunately, I missed the opening also.
I did
Unfortunately, I was at the 100 Life opening.
Yes, well, we were capitalizing on the fact that when your opening ended there, people came down, but it's true. And I mean, that's what the Glendale Arts in general competes with, is Greater Los Angeles. And there's nothing to be said about that except that hopefully we become an enticement that people want to come to. But as far as the commission goes, I would be very happy to bring you in at a time that you wish, that's convenient for you, and or invite the artist to do the same thing.
And I have a follow-up question. You had shown some what's coming next type of thing. Is there a date set for when those change over, or is it going to?
There is. There's a deinstall taking place on the 27th of March, and then the reinstall will take place on that weekend. We will set up a reception in conjunction with talking with Chuck, Cindy, and Kathy, so that there's something that can be of critical mass. Just depends, too, on how long the spaces will be available to us.
And then just one final comment. I just want to say that it's exciting. I'm thrilled to see the images because it looks like really great work, really vibrant work, interesting work. I appreciate the website and the Twitter and all that information.
Pinterest is the other one.
And the Pinterest as well, going out there, making it vibrant both physically, but then also in our social media world to get people's attention. So I want to thank you for that work. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome, and I'm very happy to do it. I was today, for example, down at LAX, where I was invited to be a curator. I'm a curator, however, behind security, so that work will only be seen by people traveling United. And I gave to the LAWA Arts Program people our invitation. So I'm also taking my other positions, the one as the curator up at the Haga, at the Descanso Gardens, the one at LAX, to be an occasion to talk up what is going on in Glendale, because quite honestly, it's easy to promote. And it's not been as visible as it should be, and so that I'm making that one of my specific tasks.
Cindy? Oh, Commissioner Lee.
What's the schedule like next week?
What is my schedule like next week?
Yeah, or the exhibit. Are they open daily?
No, the way the storefronts work is
Correct.
they
It's
are
just in the
visible
storefront.
daily
We can
and nightly. They are not open except if we open them up, but I'd be happy to look in my book afterwards, maybe not taking Commission's time during the meeting, to establish a time that would be useful to come by, Commissioner Lee. Yes, that would be something I'd be more
Since
than
I
happy.
missed it.
Before I leave, I'll pull out my agenda. Yes. I have an opening of my own work on Saturday, so till then I'm a little bit crazy. That's fun of being in the art world. So,
Cindy?
I just want to add a thank you and a congratulations to Mr. O'Brien for curating and coordinating these exhibits that really enliven our neighborhoods and the vacant storefronts. So thank you. I also would like to congratulate the Commission for your vision for the gala program that's made possible through the Urban Art Fund. So thank you all. Thank you, Mr. O'Brien.
very much.
And I need to add again, thank you very much. It was a family situation. I had the opportunity to visit that day, so I was on a mission. I went from Life 100 down to all the other ones that were on the Maryland. It was a great opportunity, beautiful exhibits. Families were there, artists from Life 100, all the ones that I knew about, whatever I told them, so they all showed up. And the fact that, people from all ages were standing by and coming in, and they were getting good explanation about everything in detail was fascinating. It livened up that afternoon, that part. I wish we could do much more. I wish there could be some kind of music or something with it. Maybe that could attract more pedestrians in that area. And the locations are, because of the parking structure that we have there, it provides the opportunity for people to stop and stand by. Great idea, great presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Next.
At 582, update on You Are Here, temporary art in public spaces.
Hello. I just livened up my computer. I didn't want to do it during John's presentation. How is everybody? Nice to see you. Thank you for coming.
Hi.
I'm excited to be in front of you today. It has taken, a while to put together what I think is a fantastic stab at the first temporary public art series in Glendale. And For anyone who's done public art, you know that it takes quite a bit of logistics with the RFP, choosing the artists, choosing the sites, working with Public Works, working with Park Services, depending on the site. And I'm going to today talk first about just, a little history back. For those two that may not be aware, I think everybody here knows me. But out in TV land, I've been pretty active in the Glendale area and all over the U.S. with an organization called Art from the Ashes. We've done somewhere upwards of 20 group exhibitions for cause-related works for disaster relief. And through the years since 2007, and working with hundreds of artists, we sort of then grew into gaining a reputation for curating shows that created unique spaces, tapped into the community, tapped into the environment. We're very inclusive and had other opportunities up to and including this RFP. So we established AFTA Productions, which is part of Art from the Ashes, but just so that it's clear, and different from our cause-related work. So this is under AFTA Productions. And one of the first things we wanted to do is, I live in Glendale. I'm an artist in Glendale. And one of the things I thought was really key is establish some kind of branding and identity. So we work with a lot of graphic artists. So we established a name called You Are Here and decided that was going to be our branding for Glendale. And, the goal was to really enhance Glendale's reputation as an arts destination. I think all of us, there's such a huge creative community here. And we want to be able to bring people into our city as much as we want to go out to other cities and enjoy creative experiences. So that was at the top of the heap, the brand development. And then we really wanted to produce temporary installations the way that we approach art and to try to really get concepts that stop people in their tracks, prompted interaction, was pretty diverse. So that was sort of what we looked into when we put out the RFP last fall. And we put out the RFP, we put it out locally in Glendale, we put it out through California Arts Council, we put it onto a lot of blogs. We got inquiries from outside of the U.S., but we politely said, no, we're trying to at least stay in California, in Southern California, thank you, but we'll be in touch, because there were some interesting things. But it was kind of nice, because it even got Glendale sort of on the radar that we were doing this temporary public art program. So we'll keep those folks in mind for a later opportunity. So we got we got close to 40 proposals in all over the place. Some, artists didn't really adhere to the exterior public art part of it, so we referred them to other opportunities in the city or things that we knew of, because there were some great concepts, just not ones that would withstand the elements and maybe work within the sites that we were looking at. And one of the things we wanted to do is the sites that we were looking at, I really wanted to focus on high-traffic profile sites. I wanted to try to find locations where the works or installations could be up a good amount of time so that people had time to encounter them. I know how you guys are the same. We're so busy that something may be on the other end of the city for 2 months and you're down to the last day, running to check it out because you just haven't had the time. So we really wanted to try to do that as well and create that time frame to hear it. And social network side of things, we've always had a penchant for that. It's one of the best ways to build community and get your profile out there. So you're going to see throughout everything we do, hashtag You Are Here, Glendale. We've already been pretty active on Instagram, Facebook. We have a pretty large database that we also reach out to. And then we cross-pollinate, as I like to say, with all sorts of artist groups and community groups, not just in Glendale, but around the whole surrounding area. Because one of the goals, too, we want to bring people here to spend their money and visit and see what a great city we live in. So, all right, so what we've done and what we'll do in each instance, you know what, Chuck, I don't know why it cuts off on yours. Anyways, I can send you guys the PowerPoint that's not adjusted. But anyway, on each instance, we do a media release at the onset of the installation. We do an e-blast to our database, active social media, and we are documenters. We document everything. We take photos and videotape everything that's come on board. And I've been working very directly and quite a bit with Cindy and Chuck, and have said that all of the footage that we have, everyone has access to it. We just ask that you credit if there's certain photographers that shot photos and things. But what we do for this project is fully access to everybody here, anybody in the city that wishes to use it for promotional purposes. And then on our AFTA site, see, there's the little, I don't know why it's doing that. That's not my graphic skills. It's formatting issues. On our AFTA site, we've given homepage profile to You Are Here. We've given a dedicated program page, and I encourage you guys to take a look at that. And then we also are going to do a page for each installation and each artist, because one of the things that we do is we really want to champion artists. So in the scope of the program, we also want to give them their day in the sun and just add that extra layer. So you'll see that all over our site. This will be, you'll see this particular one on Saturday at our event called the Glendale Picnic, which I'm going to wrap up my presentation with here in a little bit. But these are the plaques that will be on every installation that we do. One of the reasons, again, that we wanted to have a strong image and strong branding was so that people don't just walk by and go, what's that? And they don't realize that it's connected to all of these people behind the scenes, yourselves included, that have worked very hard to bring the urban art plan to life and actually get it into the context of programs that become actual art and installations for people to enjoy. So this will be on each one. Next one. Upcoming installations. We have a Glendale Picnic coming, which I'll get into that more in a bit, but I want to give you a little window into the future. But I'm just going to do a little window because I'm going to be back and I can show you more exciting images and things. We have Glendale Wings coming up, and it's an LA-based artist who has kind of a worldwide reputation now for painting these wings onto various city sites. And people stand in front of them and they become instant angels or they feel angelic. And it's quite an active social network aspect to it. Everybody posts, their shots of the wings, every mayor in every city. It's all over the place. It's really, really fun, and it's she's really great. And she submitted a proposal, and we got with her and we said, we love what you do, but how about doing something a little bit different for Glendale? And we said, have you ever done mobile wings? And she said, no. And I said, would you be up for it? And she said, sure, like any crazy artist. So we weren't quite sure what that would look like or what it would be, but we've worked together for about 3-4 months, and we've got something really exciting, I think. Cindy thinks so too, Chuck thinks. And it's going to debut at Cruise Night. So we wanted to pick a really big event to debut them at. They're going to be smack in the middle of Brand. And what's great about that event is it's one of the biggest, as you guys know, that Glendale has. It brings people from all different walks of life, and it's the perfect time for them to take their picture and promote that there is a creative experience here in Glendale. So that'll be in July 18th. The wings will then travel to various places around town in subsequent installations, so I'll be sharing those with you when I come back next time. We are also working on the final details for 2 other installations, a community labyrinth, which may sound like a strange concept, but it's going to be a beautiful one. And it's going to be, what I tried to do too is, we sat with our team and talked about, how can we involve more people in more layers of the community? How can we have artists work together as mentors with younger people so that there's some kind of a building of a creative community and an experience. And so that will be large and in charge in that particular concept. So I will tell you more about that. We're aiming for June on that if it all comes together, and I'll have more information. I'll probably come back here, if not in April, for sure in May, and have all the details for that. That will also be up. The wings will move around for 6 months, and the labyrinth will be up for a minimum of 2 to 3 months. And then lastly, Yarn Bombers Los Angeles. You may be familiar with their work. They've done stuff at the Skirball Center. They've done things at the Art and Folk Craft Museum. They are a cluster of some of the most eccentric people you'll ever meet. And they're just really, really interesting and talented. We have a very interesting site that we're trying to lock in that we've been working on for about 5 months that we're hoping to confirm. And they also, within that, we met with them and said, what else can we do to involve the community in what you do? And they said, well, we'd love to do workshops for a month ahead of time. So if you find us a place to do them, we'll do workshops, have the community participate. They can create pieces that'll actually end up in the installation. So that is what that will look like. And it's called Reentry. And that's all I'm going to tell you for now, because it's kind of fun to have some anticipation. And then this leads us to a Glendale picnic, which is opening this Saturday. And it's going to be 10 to 2. And it's in Glendale Central Park. And we searched a lot of different spaces to find the perfect space for this. This is by an artist, a Long Beach artist. Her name is Bridget Beck. And she submitted a concept that was completely Glendale-centric right from the get-go, which we loved, because in all these cases so far, it's all new works of art. So they're all being tailor-made for Glendale. They haven't appeared anywhere else, which I thought that was kind of a nice thing if we could pull that off. And her concept was that she's a sculpture artist. Her work is throughout the U.S., and you can see it in a lot of open spaces. And she creates very large, whimsical steel sculptures that people can go in and sit on. And there's conversations and narratives in the pieces she uses. She uses predominantly reclaimed materials, except for if there's any engineers ever watching this. The base is out of brand new steel. So don't worry. All the specs are there. But the interesting thing about this is when we encountered with her, she said, I always work with reclaimed materials. Do you mind what I use? And I said, no, actually, because that's what we do too. And I said, we have a whole container of materials that if you'd like to take a look through them, go ahead and use them. So it's sort of a behind-the-scenes secret, which will be not a secret anymore when I say it. But when you look on Saturday, there's pieces that we took out of the San Gabriel Mountains from the station fire that you will not recognize, that have been brightly painted and turned and twisted into a sculpture. So there's a lot of the heart of our mountain range, right above us in this sculpture. And she loved being able to kind of have that full circle come through, and of course we did as well. So I encourage you guys to come out Saturday. It's going to be a good time. When we were first talking about... keep going here. So, go back one sec, Chuck. Sorry. One of the things, I'm just going to go through these slides. You can go through them like every, 10 seconds or something. You'll be able to see them better in better lighting, but this is the documentation of the start of the sculpture and kind of the process of fabrication, even transport, and the install. And the reason I think it's important to show this is one of the things that, as an artist myself and as having an artist organization where we champion the behind-the-scenes work that goes into pieces, I think it's really important to show people how an artist works and what takes place, and that the art just doesn't pop out one day and there it is. So we've documented everything, and we'll have these on display on Saturday for the general public to kind of see what it looked like along the way. And the great part about documenting is I have shots of a sculpture that doesn't exist because, of course, the artists changed their mind a few times as it went along. So you can keep going through them. Anyway, so we'll have all these. She painted the tools because she thought it would be more fun for the install. And there it's going to Glendale. So it went from, we had a warehouse and a shop area out in Laverne. So it's about 40 minutes away, and we put it on a 20-foot truck, and there's a giant satellite with birdhouses and everything coming out of it. And then this is in Glendale Central Park. This past Tuesday, Monday. Sorry, Monday, Tuesday. So we started the install, transported the piece with our team, and it is right now up there. It's just getting some fresh coats of paint in a few places where it took some road travels, and it'll be ready to go for Saturday. And it's got birdhouses, picnic seating area. We barely could keep people off it while we've been installing it. They come by and they said, well, when can I sit on it? I want to eat my lunch there. I want to have my coffee on it. So the concept of this artist, she's all about the community and engaging them and having them come in and have a conversation. So it's meant to be a piece of art that you can actually sit on and be in and converse in. And we're excited about Saturday. We got ukulele players because we thought that, I don't know, what kind of music fits a Glendale picnic. So there's going to be the Honolulu Avenue Strummers are going to open it up at 10 o'clock. And then at 11:30, there's a ukulele jam session. And I'm not making that up. There'll be 20 to 25 ukulele players, which is probably more than anyone in this room has ever seen in one shot, I'm guessing. I think I've seen two together. So they'll be playing the whole day, and we'll have kids' art activities. We're encouraging people to come on down, bring a picnic, enjoy each other's company, enjoy the sculpture, meet the artist, and just have a really, really good day. So, and this is the last slide. This is what we're going to do also on every installation. We are on Google Maps, so we're putting whatever we do for You Are Here. We're making sure if people Google it, they know we're here. And we can officially put that up there today because it's there. So, and for now, I do want to say real quick, I want to say thank you to everybody here for just making this program possible and you know, working so hard to get the urban art plan into something that can actually, you know, come to fruition and be a place for artist groups and artists to express themselves and for the community to enjoy. I have to say a very special thank you to Cindy and Chuck for shepherding this through a lot of departments and a lot of systems. Public Works has been amazing. Community Services and Parks have been amazing. I have to say, I live here, but I don't take it for granted. I'm very proud of the collective effort that seems to be happening here. I mean, you know, I know it's an odd, you know, you tell someone what you're doing and they go, what? But they don't say it in a way of what you're not going to do it, just what, how do we do that? How can I help? What do you need? You know, and it just was really, it's really been a great experience, and I look forward to several more as we go along, and that's it.
I would like to say thank you very much for the great update because you went through all the details. It's an excellent project. We are so excited about it. I'm honored to be part of the opening ceremony on Saturday. Bringing this kind of art to our community, which is kind of a happy art. It's an art that makes everybody involved. It's great. Just one suggestion, is there a way GTV6 could be part of it on Saturday, or we do not have the chance? Because I would like that to be televised and kept on our archives as well, so they could have the reruns, during the month, etc. So if possible, if we could make an arrangement to have that for sure, because this is one of our pride and joy. This has been, from the time of inception, the idea has come from the city, and we want this to come to the community as well, to see what kind of artists we have, how dedicated you guys are, how much our staff are working with you and with the whole community to make these kind of things possible. Thank you very much. There is no limit to my joy, and especially with the ukulele. I'm sure you are going to make it. And the You Are Here is the catchiest, I think, possible nice title for that.
Thank
because
you.
It's like you are here. So what else should one say?
Exactly how you just said. Our team was together and we were trying to think of, what could be just, and it literally came up like that.
It's
and we
fantastic.
thought, well, there it is. And it was, what did you say? That.
We are proud of AFTA and all the other
Thank
presentations you have had. I mean, they were all phenomenal. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
If there isn't any question, comments, we could go to the next one. Thank you very much, Joy, for being here.
Sorry I took a little long, but I hadn't seen you in a while and there was a lot to cover. So, I'm not very excited about it.
At 5A3, update on Beyond the Box Utility Box Mural Program.
Chair Dare Hovhanessian, commissioners and city staff and visitors, just for your information, this is a report on Beyond the Box, the utility box murals, very popular in the city. In July 2013, the Arts and Culture Commission approved a 2-year work plan that outlines the guiding projects and priorities through the Urban Art Fund appropriations. And the Commission identified a utility box mural program as one of those projects. To date, murals have been created on 37 utility boxes in the downtown Glendale and Montrose areas. On December 2014, the Arts and Culture Commission moved to recommend a third phase of Beyond the Box, not to exceed $25,000, with the remaining balance rolled into the discretionary fund. Staff was able to identify 24 city-owned utility boxes in a number of neighborhoods, including Adams Hill, Brand Boulevard, primarily the south part below Broadway, Foothill Boulevard, and Louise Streets. The Foothill Boulevard and Louise Street locations were added to accommodate requests by the Economic Development and Community Development departments. And additionally, the Museum of Neon Art asked if the box outside their new building was available and if we could consider it. So a call for artists will be released shortly this month, and applications will be reviewed in April by a committee consisting of Commissioners Lee and Sharikian, representatives from the Adams Hill Neighborhood Association, the Brand Boulevard of Cars, the Foothill Boulevard Merchants, the Museum of Neon Art, and library arts and culture staff. Artists will be asked to paint utility boxes on May 2nd. That's a Saturday, May 2nd, 2015. We chose it not quite arbitrarily, but it does coincide with Earth Day at the 134. There's a number of events sponsored by the Community Development Department. And that is our report. It does not require any action at this time.
Very good. Thank you. Next item.
At 5B, action item. At 1, motion to review and recommend approval of artists for the temporary art in Adams Square Mini Park gas station.
Once again, in December 2014, the Commission approved the temporary art display in Community Services and Parks Adams Square Mini Park gas station, or ASMPGS policy, a temporary art display agreement, a call for artists, and a proposal form. And in February of this year, artists, art organizations, and local schools were invited to submit proposals to temporarily display art in the gas station 3 to 4 times during this year. A selection committee met in early March, and the committee was comprised of Commissioner Deaver, 2 artists recommended by the Adams Hill Neighborhood Association, and staff from both Community Services and Parks and Library Arts and Culture. The selection committee reviewed 9 artist applications and selected 4. Selections were scored on the basis of artistic originality, skill, craftsmanship, creativity, and innovation, and particularly appropriateness for the audience and the overall visual composition as it pertains to this very specific display venue. We have, this is on screen, this is a picture of the current gas station Mini Park at night. It's a beautiful site. Works by artists Jane O'Neill, Yaya Chow, Lux, and Marcia Perloff were selected for exhibitions in the gas station in 2015. I can briefly go through the artist pictures. Jane O'Neill earned her Master's of Fine Arts from Yale University. She has exhibited extensively on the East Coast and in California. She has taught, lectured, and had residencies at various academic institutions on both coasts. Yaya Chow earned an MFA from Cal Arts and has exhibited in California. It's particularly interesting to everybody, the giant beluga whales. Lux is an integrated design and fabrication practice composed of 2 architects, Catherine Kokoska and Stephanie Newcomb, and both earned degrees in architecture from Carnegie Mellon University. This is their rendering of a daytime version, and then at night, have a very, very interesting glow effect with some lighting and some mylar. And finally, Marcia Perloff has had a long and successful career in costuming for television and motion pictures, and she traces her interest in found object assemblage to an art class at the LA County Museum of Art in the early 1960s. Just run through a few of her very interesting found art pieces. The artist statements and images about the selected works are in your packets. And that's my report.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to recommend this to our council?
I'll make the motion.
And a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you very much. So we have that taken care of.
Roll call.
Roll call, please.
Commissioners Deaver,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Oshagan,
Yes.
Chairperson Terhobanesian.
Dear, yes.
Item 6, Commission staff comments.
Well, is there any special? Do I see hands? Okay.
I just want to mention that we have a gallery in town that it's fairly new. I became aware of it just recently over at 918 Ruberta Avenue. It's called The Pit, and they've got an opening coming up. They're open by appointment during the day, but they do have periodic openings when they have new exhibitions. The next one being Sunday, March 22nd from 4 to 7 p.m., and you can find out more information about that at the-pit.la. It's a contemporary space, contemporary exhibitions. I'm really excited that they're in town, excited to go to this.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Lee. Well, I would like to talk a little bit about Life 100. I was there. It was a phenomenal exhibition. Great budget. And what was so special about this presentation? Well, this was the second one, even though I mentioned at the second day that there was another one that our city, in collaboration with the community, under the auspices of the Man's in Humanity to Man 2009, we had the same kind of a thing for a month going on. So we had the artists, contemporary artists of our community, as well as all the presentations and poetry night and panel talk and etc. But what made this one unique and special was that they had curated and great art collectors had given their very valuable museum-level artwork. They had lent it to us, and it was on exhibit. So it was kind of that brand exhibit hall looked more like LACMA or MoCA because it was carrying such a valuable work that otherwise, if those great art collectors would not have shared with us, we could never see that. They were only in catalogs, and now it became a reality. And to be able to get that into place, I need to thank our city manager, Scott Ochoa, Yasmin, specifically Cindy Cleary and her staff, and Kathy Billings, that they put together so many hours to make this reality, to make the dream of the community come to a reality. That was very special. To honor the diversity, I was overwhelmed with the level of work that was put for that exhibit. Having said that, and we know that our Commissioner Oshakan's work was there, it is very interesting. That is the beginning of another presentation that they are going to have downtown LA pretty soon, which is going to be 22 of those large sculpture painting combination, which is phenomenal. So having said that, one other thing, I was asked by the community, tonight at Enzo Gallery, Servet Pogosian's work, which is fantastic, it is beautiful modern art, is going to be on exhibit 7 to 10 tonight. It's the reception. And this presentation is going to last from 19th to 26th of this month. So basically, these are the great events and all the wonderful things that are happening in our city. Is there anything else anyone wants to share tonight? No, thank you very much. Okay, since there is no more and I don't have any written communication, so we need to adjourn the meeting. Thank you for being here. The meeting is adjourned. We pretend that this is a gavel.